Hello, Happy New Year, and welcome back to another episode of the Folklore Podcast. In fact, welcome to another season. This is season 11 of the show. I'm Mark Norman, folklore researcher and author, and your host for another year. Yep, some things never change. I've got some great guests slated for interview in the first part of this year, and a couple of topics that I'm very much looking forward to exploring myself. I'll also be out and about at events, and I'll be recording material for you there as well. For this year, with the 10th anniversary season done, the podcast schedule is returning to its old frequency, so you can expect a couple of episodes each month, along with some bonus material dropped in from time to time too. As you'll know, if you listened to the pre-Christmas announcement, I'm also moving some of the unreleased episode catch-ups over onto Patreon. They will be free. You can hear them there without having to pay anything for support. Of course, you can still choose to sign up for a small amount each month for the extra episodes and the other content on there too, and all that support helps the show to keep getting made. But there is plenty of free content as well, so no pressure. The other day, I had an email from musician and singer Amy Hopwood. More about her later on. Amy has a new album called Gone to Flowers coming out next month. That's February 2026 as I record this. And she was sending me a copy of the track from the album that she's currently putting out for people to have a listen to. The song is called Breadcrumbs, and you can hear it yourself as well at the end of this episode. Amy told me that this song is all about what we can learn from the sayings of our ancestors. A lot of wisdom is hidden away in the proverbs that we use every day, often without thinking about them. And, of course, that wisdom was developed from the experiences and the lives of those who have gone before us. So that gave me an idea. We should take a short look at Proverbs. And so this is a little mini episode to start the year off on that topic. Proverbs are one of three short forms of folk literature, the other two being riddles and charms. The latter of those is quite distinct in its magical usage for healing and divining. Proverbs and riddles are a little more similar. But where a riddle is about setting out to deceive the consumer, or at least testing their ability to solve a puzzle in some way, the proverb is a little bit more clear-cut. It's a short quotation or saying which sets out to convey common ideas or beliefs from within a particular culture. Now, they have their origins in oral transmission, like so much of our folklore does, but then they later became a part of folk literature as well. Now, I say ideas and beliefs from within a particular culture very intentionally, because we often find when comparing different areas that the same basic proverb has a geographic or cultural variation. We see this idea in folklore quite often. Those of you that have read my book on black dog folklore, which is available on the podcast web store if you haven't, will know that we see the same thing with the unusual size of the dog's eyes. In Britain, these are described as being as big as saucers, whereas in Latin America, they use the phrase as big as tortillas. In the Bible, there is a well-known proverb about fair exchange, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. And then in East Africa, another proverb speaks of a similar thing. A goat's hide buys a goat's hide, and a gourd a gourd. Now, as we have learned many times on the podcast before, it's usually very difficult to pin down an origin point for things in folklore. This is especially true with anything that emerges from oral transmission. There's a lot spoken about the fact that many proverbs came from the pen of William Shakespeare. In fact, more generally, people are very quick to ascribe the creation of a whole bunch of words and phrases to the bard, but perhaps a little bit too quick. In a Library of Congress blog, effectively debunking much of the myth relating to Shakespeare and the coining of language, folklorist Stephen Winnick notes that a large number of the 1,502 words which are attributed to Shakespeare by the Oxford English Dictionary have been traced back earlier than the time that the playwright was working. And the same thing applies to Proverbs. For example, the phrase, "it's all Greek to me," it doesn't come from Shakespeare, because it predated him in both English and French forms. Incidentally, the Greeks used the phrase, "it's all Hebrew to me," for a similar proverbial way of saying that they didn't understand something. This particular proverb probably has its root in medieval Latin. Many European proverbs, such as the one about a bird in the hand being worth two in the bush, they come from Latin in this way. That particular one has variants across Europe. Whilst there are cultural variations to proverbs based on geography, there can also be similarities when focusing on particular parts of the world. Middle Eastern proverbs can be highly exaggerated, or over the top, or be very colourful in their description of things. In Egypt, "throw a man in the Nile and he will come up with a fish in his mouth" would be a way to describe someone's good fortune, for example. Other proverbs from folk literature might use imagery pertaining to daily life, or the home, or the farm. For example, the phrase "in a pickle" to describe when someone is in a dangerous position or in a difficult and confused state. Now, that can be traced back to the 16th century. Its first written mention is in an agricultural book, the 1573 500 Points of Good Husbandry by Thomas Tusser. The author provides a handy rhyming couplet informing on the correct use of a tool in a particular situation. "Reap barley with sickle, that lies in ill pickle." This simply means that if you're trying to harvest barley with a scythe, and that crop is very tangled, then it makes more sense to use a sickle instead. A scythe has a long blade and a long handle. Think the Grim Reaper, for example, whereas a sickle is short-handled with a shorter and more curved blade. Again, people will tell you that Shakespeare first used the phrase "in a pickle." Obviously he didn't, because Tusser is earlier. And anyway, Shakespeare never wrote "in a pickle." He did use "in this pickle" and "in such a pickle," and the meaning's the same, although it's still later than Tusser. Maybe I need to do an episode on Shakespearean folklore. Proverbs can have a direct link with folklore through areas such as prediction or superstition. Weather lore is particularly rich for the former, with phrases such as "red sky at night" or "rain before 7, fine before 11. Proverbial superstitions might tell us the best times to marry, to sow crops, or even to cut our fingernails. But we do also have to consider what is and what isn't a proverb, and there's been much discussion on this point. In fact, some people have questioned whether it's even possible to pin down, and maybe we'll be continually debating this point. American folklorist Alan Dundas didn't agree that sayings such as those connected with weather prediction, for example, were the same as proverbs. At one time, the definition of a proverb as a short sentence which contained wisdom, truth, and traditional views was quite sufficient. Attempts to hone this, based particularly on the proverbs from Persian cultures, added that the wording should be fluent and include literary devices such as simile or metaphor. Essentially, like many other parts of folklore, we see difficulty caused by the constantly shifting definitions and descriptions. And naturally, the descriptions of what proverbs are will change from culture to culture too. Proverbial origins are mixed. Some of our proverbs come from philosophers, from religious texts, and from other major historical sources. Others come from fiction writing in different forms, and then they become embedded in society. So authors such as Tolkien or C.S. Lewis, they've been credited with proverb creation. Even more modern works have had a big influence. Forrest Gump first thought that life was like a box of chocolates, but now many of us do too. It's interesting to consider another similarity between folkloric beliefs and proverbs. Both of them quite happily contradict each other, and they do that with alarming regularity. If he who hesitates is lost, then there is surely no time to look before you leap. Many hands might make light work, but they're also found spoiling broth quite often as well. If you're interested in looking at proverbs in folklore from an academic perspective, then it's worth noting that there is a term which is generally applied to this: paremiology. Dr. Wolfgang Mieder is a Professor Emeritus of German and Folklore at the University of Vermont. He received an American Folklore Society Lifetime Scholarly Achievement Award in 2012, and he's written on this subject. So you might like to check out his book, Worth 1,000 Words, which was published by the University Press of Mississippi in 2025. I hope that this short introduction to the folklore behind proverbs has been interesting. Do let me know on social media or by email, or in the comments if you're listening to this on YouTube or on Spotify. It's good to chat to listeners. If you're a Patreon supporter on the appropriate tiers, don't forget that you can get access to the Folklore Podcast Discord server, and we can chat there as well. So, we'll wrap up this episode here, and we'll listen to the song that inspired me to write it, Breadcrumbs by Amy Hopwood. If you get an opportunity, pop over to the Patreon page at patreon.com/thefolklorepodcast and sign up. Free membership will give you access to more episodes of the show, and you can upgrade any time to a paid tier if you want to hear the bonus content there as well. Every membership, no matter how small, even if they're free, helps to keep the show going. And do use the social media, Blue Sky and Facebook especially, to interact with me and with the show. Here is Breadcrumbs. I hope you enjoy it. And listen carefully, because Amy tells me that to give extra poignancy to this song, she asked anybody willing to record themselves to do so, whispering their favourite sayings for her. She's woven these recordings together alongside the drones of her Shruti box and what she describes as some carefully applied creaking. And she's done this to create an atmospheric backing for her voice. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
Make hay while the sun shines. It's not a war. Everything happens. Never sleep on an arm. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Don't cross the bridge until you can't see.
100 billion people have walked this earth before. 100 billion people every day, it's even more. And each and every one of them has stories they could tell, of succeeding and of failing and of how to live life well. They laid a trail of breadcrumbs in the fairy tales they told. They wove a lot of wisdom through the sayings we still hold. Our ancestors, our forebears, although they are here no more, they knew that things to come will cast their shadows well before.
Tomorrow is another day said and done.
Make hay while the sun shines. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Your granny's grandma, she would know just what to do when the one you love has told you that they no longer love you. Your great-great-uncle, twice removed, had many things to say on how to handle death and loss and how to find your way. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it
ash, every splash, ash before every secret. It's like wood or eggs, it runs in the family.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
When you need to hear that in the end the good ones will prevail, or find some hope that help will come when you become too frail. To know that kindness is returned and you are not alone. Just follow all those breadcrumbs that your ancestors have sown.
A problem shared is a problem